welcome back and or to the channel. Trucker Rod here with S.E.E. and it's another week. It's the middle of the month of July and we're at a Petro outside of Chilhowie, Virginia, just about 30 minutes from Bristol, Tennessee. So been having a good week. Everything's going good out here. Still hot, barn burner. Very excruciating hot weekend last week while I was off, and didn't get much done. I worked one day and then I just took a couple days and just slept a lot and just got some rest. So before we get started into today's subject on credit cards, if you could like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Liking the videos, it helps the YouTube algorithm to get these videos pushed out for recommendations and get more people seeing this, and try to come up with some more ideas and other things going on. So anyhow, I'm speaking on this through my past financial ignorance from 20 years ago up through the global financial crisis, the GFC. I had a lot of financial ignorance. Therefore, I did not know what the Sam heck I was doing. I had racked up many credit cards, a lot of debt, not knowing that we were going through a recession and the economy was tightening up. Gas prices were going up, and I didn't understand, why are gas prices going up? Why is this happening? Why is that happening? I know I was in a bad place then because I had just bought my first new vehicle to myself in 2005, and I had pushed that truck to the gas station twice because I was getting by so tightly, check by check, then it was horribly bad, with no money in reserve, nothing. My credit card was my lifeline, and that gapped gas in the truck, paying bills, getting groceries. It was horrible when I reflect back and see the financial mess I made of everything. I paid those cards off in 4 years, and we're talking $28,000 of credit card debt I paid off in 4 years. So lesson learned. And I want to say in the last 3 years, I've wrapped my head into financial, investing, economics, but understanding fractional reserves to percentages, interest rates, and just understanding how money works, how you don't want to sit on it in a savings account because inflation eats it up, but to park discretionary money into assets that compound either with interest or can cash flow you on the back end. So therefore, I have gotten more responsible financially, and through that is just my indulging into information, catching knowledge on the internet, reading on articles, to listening to a lot of gurus out there on YouTube and such, that has inspired me to do this research, of course, start this channel, hence Self-Educated Entrepreneur. So I just would never put myself back into that. Now the second thing from the GFC, two things happened through that GFC era from like 2006 to 2012. Not only I was on a salary job then, working in healthcare back, in those days. There's a lot of things I could have done different, but I stretched that salary pay. I look back and it's like I make in 1 quarter driving truck, I make as much as I did a whole year working on salary and healthcare. So the credit cards were gapping the meet the needs, And by 2012, the consulting firms had come into the hospital, and the hospital was feeling it on their end to where hours got cut. I moved on to try a different position, and then I got laid off. So all within a span of a year and a half, almost 2 years. I'd say, yeah, pretty close. I'd say 2 years. So 2 year span, you know, I lost my job. Basically, I was losing money and hours and all that with a wife with medical needs that could not work anymore. Hence why I am here as Trucker Rod. So I wanted to break down a few things because, and we'll talk a little bit on the tail end of this, but I looked up a lot of stuff. The St. Louis Federal Reserve. I am not a fan of the Federal Reserve, but they're the ones that you get the data through the United States economy. So again, let's switch over, get our reading glasses on. And I just want to cover some of this stuff because I don't know how many of you folks actually go to the Federal Reserve to look at the 12 different Fed governors, but the different districts of the Federal Reserve to get data to understand the economy. And that kind of puts statistics involved with other things, you know, articles and stuff that came up. Now, let me clean these glasses off. But my biggest thing is I'm seeing now people are going through what I did 15, 20 years ago. And that is people are using their credit cards to gap the needs. Now, some of them are hurting so bad that, yeah, they're paying their utility bills, their car insurance, their car payments, their food, the kids' needs with credit cards. And the credit card is stacking up faster than they're making money to pay the, let's get this volume turned down again. Basically to pay their needs. Their payroll is not covering it. So with that, it's a big deal. Now, the one thing I got from Bob Proctor is when people lose their jobs, the first thing you start seeing, whether they got their hours cut or they lose their jobs. And I've been a big proponent of listening in the early days of Bob Proctor and Tony Robbins to get my brain rewired and thinking in a forward progress, positive way. And he said he had a friend that lost their job and was, you know, they were at a point, they were like to Bob, I've got to sell my house, I've got to get rid of this and that because, you know, without their job, they're over leveraged, they're in debt. Being over leveraged means you've got too much debt. And Bob came to this friend of his and said, look, you like your house, you worked hard to get the house you wanted, you're comfortable staying there, you don't dislike your house to where you just, yeah, let's just sell it, I don't like being there anyways. No, he goes, I love my house, I picked it out, and I'm in an area where I want to be, life is good, I don't want to change. And he goes, then get a better paying job. And that's the whole mantra I've been going after for the last, when I got let go from healthcare and came to trucking, is always look at, make more money, get a better paying job, whatever it takes. To me, I'm making good money here. I'm adding to it by doing side hustles, starting businesses, and getting that extra cash flow going on. So that way I've got, and I was thinking of it today before I got parked here to speak to you all on this subject, is I am better hedged with liquid reserves. I was nowhere near this back then. I was sucking air. I was underwater sucking air through a straw just to survive every single day with a little boy, you know, raising my son in my custody. And we were hurting. I mean, hurting so bad that I couldn't even come up with enough money to indulge him into a slushie or Slurpee from 7-Eleven. So things were tight then. not so much now, and my wife and I are pretty proud of that. But we're also very frugal. We're very diligent to talk about money openly every day, every week. We question everything we buy, and we look for things before we buy. We don't like to pay whole retail price. We look for deals, coupons, whatever we can do to save a buck. And we question, you know, when I go into the store, in the past, I was one for comfort food. Now I look at it and I say, you know, do I need to eat all those chemicals and that comfort food to make me feel good now, but it's going to hit me later? So I've, you know, being in this truck, packing healthy, watching my grocery bill here. We're eating at home. We don't eat out, and we don't indulge in luxury items or travel. And I think that's where we're going to have that discussion here in a bit. But I wanted to go over statistics with you from the St. Louis Fed. One is, as of the first quarter of 2024, the total credit card debt in the United States is $1.12 trillion. That just surpassed, I believe, last year, for the first time ever, hitting the $1 trillion of credit card debt in the United States. It's a significant increase from the pre-pandemic level. So before the pandemics, $927 billion then was its highest. However, it's a decrease. Right now, that $1.12 trillion is a decrease, a $14 billion decrease from the fourth quarter of 2023. So we peaked the end of last year of 2023, which was the highest balance since the New York Fed, and they started tracking credit card debt 1999. So credit card debt makes up more than 6% of all debt held by Americans. So the credit cards alone is 6% of all the U.S. debt held by us Americans. Now, according to Wallet Hub, U.S. consumers added $43 billion in credit card debt during the second quarter of 2024. This is something I dug around. I said, where are we at now? Because the Federal Reserve got me to the first quarter of this year, but I wanted to be a little more current, so we're going to work in the second quarter. And that $43 billion is more than 3 times the average amount since the Great Recession. That would be year 2008, 2010, all that GFC era. This increase is due to the combination of factors. They're saying the end of the pandemic, stimulus checks, inflation, supply chain issues because of the pandemic, and of course, wars raging around the world that we're involved in. The effects of higher interest rates are evident, and credit card interest rates exceeding 20%, the highest in more than 2 decades. So I've been watching this through my friend Jeremiah Babe, his channel, and he had been for month by month saying, you know, how he was watching the credit card, the average credit card rate going, and when I started watching him in October of 2021, it was like 16% on an average. Now it's over 20%. Other credit card statistics from the second quarter, let's see, interest rates. The average APR for cards that accrue interest was 22.76, up from 22.63 in the first quarter. However, the APR for all current credit card accounts fell to 21.51, down from 21.59 in the first quarter. Delinquency. So just to give you a little backstory, delinquency, and we talk a lot about that, has been increasing for the last 8 to 11 quarters. And it's more noticeable in the Federal Reserve, the St. Louis Fed Reserve. We'll talk about this in the poor districts. So the poor zip codes. So in the first quarter of 2024, in these poor zip codes, delinquency in these areas was 17.4%, up from 11% in the second quarter of 2021. So nearly 3 years, it's gone up 6%, 6.5%. Store credit cards typically have a higher interest rate than your MasterCard, Visa, Discover, American Express, just to name, you know, the general ones that they're talking about that are out there. So, as of June of 2024, last month, Bankrate reported that the average interest rate for store credit cards was 28.93%, up from 26.72 in 2022, and then 24.35 in 2021. So store-only cards like your Macy's, what used to be Sears, JCPenney cards, they have an average interest rate of 30.24%, which is significantly higher than the average of 21.19% interest rate for the regular Visa and MasterCards. So, some of these cards, now there were some cards, get this, like Academy Sports plus Outdoors, Burlington, Good Sam Rewards, Michael's credit cards, they have an APR of 33.24%. Folks, they try to sucker you into those store credit cards when you go up to check out. I've done this at Camping World, which is Good Sam's is in there. And they're like, hey, if you want to take 10% off that item, sign up for our store card. And don't do it. Just run fast and run far from that. So in the article from the St. Louis Fed, the broad continuing rise in U.S. credit card debt delinquency, and this was wrote May 14th of 2024. I will pin the link in this in the description. So they say, we base our analysis on quarterly data from the Federal Reserve's Bank of New York's Equifax Consumer Report Panel. A credit card account is delinquent in their eyes once it's 30 days or more. They look at two variables for credit card delinquencies: the percentage of people in delinquency and the percentage of debt in delinquency. From the first quarter of 1999 through the first quarter of 2024, 25-year period, they're looking at ages 20 to 64. In addition, they divided up U.S. zip codes into deciles based on per capita aggregate gross income in 2019 derived from the IRS individual income tax, so basically your income taxes. So what is a decile? D-E-C-I-L-E. A decile is a quantitative method of splitting up a set of ranked data into 10 equally large subsections. This type of data ranking is performed as part of many academic and statistical studies in the finance and economic fields. The data may be ranked from the largest to the smallest values or vice versa. So to better understand the broadness of the surge in credit card delinquency, they displayed the data for the U.S., the Federal Reserve's 8th district. So they used their district, the St. Louis Reserve Fed, the richest 10% of the zip code in that 8th district and the poorest 10% of that zip code. So the Federal Reserve, to get an idea, the Federal Reserve's Bank of St. Louis is the headquarters of the 8th district, is one of 12 reserve banks, and the district serves approximately 14.6 million people in 4 zones that span over Missouri, Mississippi, Tennessee, Kentucky, Indiana, and Illinois. So you got a feel when we talk about this where they're targeting. So when they say consumption, they're talking about your expenditures to buying, whether it's goods and services. In a Walmart, your Target, to getting your car washed, oil changed, services. So whatever it may be. So that, to wrap this up, most people looking at all this data and just looking back at my life, it's like we have to stop as a nation and take a break. And it's going to be hard when you look at higher luxury living like Miami, areas in California where people we have become accustomed to a luxury living compared to the rest of the world. And you may say, well, we're the greatest nation, we have the world reserve currency and all that. To me, I look over my shoulder at the U.S. economy, but every day I focus on one thing: my economy. What's going on in my life with money in, money out? How can I streamline and even do better today than I did yesterday? You need to focus on your economy first before you focus on anything from politics to economics. You need to sit down, put in a spreadsheet, and I want to say budget, but know where your money's going as far as debt going out and money coming in. So you want to take that, instead of you got more going out than you do coming in, and you want to turn that table to where, like now for us, we have discretionary money coming in to where we have plugged in 2 extra investments besides what I do here at work. And I'm just going to keep doing that. So as I pay off and knock down more debt, taking that money and hedging it into more investing assets to money going forward, and then also doing side hustles and gigs to help cash flow more money coming in. So you have to be on the swivel, but we have to tone down our, I want to say, lifestyle of how we became accustomed to the point we think our shit don't stink and we are just living high up here and we can never be down here. And I'm sorry to say, folks, but the good times are over. We need to start grasping our life and bringing it down a notch. It doesn't matter whether you're a 6, 7 figure earner or you're just getting by making 30, 40,000 like the bare minimum. It doesn't matter which end of the spectrum you're on. You need to reel yourself in and be realistic on stuff. And also with all that has happened this last weekend, we also need to come together as a country and as communities that we live in to help each other and quit being so hateful and so negative. It is like siblings fighting anymore, wishing one would die, and just putting that hatred and negativity on them. We are all brothers and sisters. We are a family in this country, yet we know there's bad actors and people that are here that have come across the border to do harm. But for us that are established and been here, we need to come together. We need to unite and have civilized conversations without hatred and negativity, and just have the conversations. If you're having that in politics, it has gotten so bad that people nearly want to do harm to each other. You should be able to have a beer, sit down, have a conversation, whether you're on one side of the table and the other is a Democrat and Republican, but you should be able to have civilized conversations, because at the end of the day, we all have to live in this country. Otherwise, it's going to be war-torn if we keep on the trajectory that we're on right now. So we need to just stop all this, come together, help each other in our communities. Everyone's going to prosper if we help each other, whether it's just a helping hand, whether it's through inspiring them, through just talking them up, or helping them out when they're down and out physically. You know, a lot of people could use a little extra. So, and as far as going to food banks and all that other stuff, if you're sitting well, then maybe get in and help distribute food out to those that are in need. So step in and see where you can tithe and give back in your community. If you're that person like myself doing well, then you want to reach out and help. I try to, when I'm home, get out and help and work with my neighbors and see what I can do to give a helping hand, because many of them are retired, therefore elderly, and that's what we should be doing. So until next time, folks, stay safe out there. Continue educating yourself. Knowledge is learned, not taught, and we will speak again in the next video.